Hey, what's up? My name is Dan, and this is my channel, Mindful Missionary. In 2020, I actually moved my family from the US to Sierra Leone to teach the gospel. And during that time span, a lot of things have changed, including some things in my marriage. So in order to really give a thorough explanation of this, I think I'll need to recruit some help. All right, Sonia, do you mind being in a video with me?
Can I have a cold drink?
Yes.
Deal.
She's an easy bribe. All right, well, today we're sharing a little bit about our marriage and how living in Sierra Leone has maybe influenced our marriage or kind of affected our marriage a little bit. And so Sonia, of course, is here to kind of shine light on her perspective towards some of those things. What are some things that, because of the environment here in Sierra Leone and how it's different than what we're used to in the US, what are some environmental things that maybe influence our marriage or like marriage-related changes that we've had to adjust to?
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that comes to mind is in the US, we lived in Boston, so anytime we wanted to go out and spend time together, we had the options of going bowling, going to the movies, restaurants, coffee shops, all kinds of options.
It's not like we did that every night, but like
Right.
whenever we wanted like a night out, there were plenty of options to be able to do those sorts of things.
Right, versus here, we don't really have that many options as far as going out places, and so I think it's kind of on us to like make our own fun, make our own adventures, find out things to do together that are exciting and new and that we enjoy, and not being so dependent upon those kind of outward resources.
So another thing regarding some of this kind of environment differences here than in the US and how that's affected me a little bit. I mean, the biggest stereotype in Africa is that it's hot. Well, I can confirm that it is hot. And in some ways, more so during the first year, at least for me, is I think that because I was so hot, I kind of repelled as much like affection towards Sonia. Just like simple things like holding hands. You know, after about 30 seconds, so your hands are just dripping with sweat. This is not as much of a romantic, affectionate sort of mood that it puts me in. Or even just like being able just to kind of cuddle up on the couch and things like that is just, again, something that at the end of the day, just it's really hot indoors. And so I think the second year, not only am I making better effort to be more affectionate and more affirming in that way, but also it's helped that I think we've both adjusted to the heat a little bit more, where that's not become as big of an issue, at least in my mind.
Mm-hmm. He's getting a snack for the baby. I think something else that comes to mind for me though is in the US, often a lot of the prep work that he'd have would mean that he was out of the house, and so we often didn't see each other until the end of the day, versus here, a lot of the prep that he does is at home. Most of my studies are here, some of his studies are here, but most of his are out. But we're just around each other so much more. And so there's pros and cons to that. Some of the cons is sometimes it can be easy to kind of treat each other like co-workers in an office because we just take for granted that we're together a lot of the day. But some pros is that, you know, you do get opportunities to hug and catch up, and sometimes he helps with the kids in the middle of the day, which is nice as well. I didn't tell him anything, I promise.
Okay.
That's a lot of Cheerios.
What would you say either have been or are currently some of the largest challenges that we faced and or are facing in our marriage?
I think from my perspective, one of the biggest challenges is, and this would be a challenge anywhere, sometimes it can feel like I'm blaming the location maybe, but just both of our workloads are large. Both of us have a lot of things that we're passionate about, that we're trying to do. I'm trying to take care of kids and manage the household. Dan is studying with people and traveling to have studies and meeting with people. And I think it can be easy, at least for me, to kind of get caught up in thinking, I've got so much on my plate, like I need help, you know, and kind of get selfish with what my needs are. And so rather than having like a team mindset, it's easier for me to be a my tasks focused mindset. And so I think that can get in the way sometimes of us being as united as we need to be, and working together to accomplish the things that both of us are accomplishing as a married team.
Yeah, and maybe on a related note, I think our support system since moving here is probably smaller, as far as the amount of people that we rely upon and have access to. And so I think that results in, over the past year and a half plus that we've been here, we've had to rely upon each other, maybe more so than any other season of our life. And I think there have been some really neat blessings from that. I mean, I think there are times, most of the time, where I feel so much closer to Sonia than I ever have before, just because of how reliant I am on her and how reliant she is on me. And there have been some really special moments, because of some of that. But I do think naturally whenever there's an expectation of, someone kind of being your everything, and being more reliant upon a singular person, there's more potential for disappointment, or for that person to kind of let you down or not deliver. And so I do think there are even times, perhaps even where, because of that increased dependence that we have upon each other, that has resulted in disappointment or hurt feelings or stress, because maybe that person's not able or has not succeeded in fulfilling all of those areas of need. And so I think that's something that Sonia and I have thankfully been able to communicate a lot about, and being able to kind of balance that with, yes, depending upon each other, but then also showing a lot of patience and a lot of grace, realizing that even though we're depending more upon each other, that doesn't always mean that we're going to be able to achieve that perfectly in every scenario. Mm-hmm. For me, the first year that we lived here, it kind of felt like we were just trying to survive some of it. I think certainly with the first initial adjustments of moving to a foreign country like this, and then when I got sick, and then we were pregnant, and then gave birth to this little one, it just kind of felt like we were just kind of trying to survive and kind of keep our head above water. And so there's some challenges with that. I think that's not a very sustainable kind of lifestyle or mentality to have. And so I think this next year, or this next season, kind of since that first year, a huge buzzword in my mind I've been thinking about a lot about is just sustainability. So trying to make sure that within our marriage, we're not just living day to day. We're being purposeful, intentional, to make sure that our own marriage doesn't deteriorate, or kind of fall by the wayside. I think the type of work that we're hoping to do in Sierra Leone really can only be fulfilled if we as a couple and as a marriage are not simply surviving, but really thriving. And that comes from developing good, sustainable habits and mentalities and good pacing as well. So what are areas of success or joy or aspects in which moving here has been a blessing to our marriage?
I think one thing that for me has been a blessing in our marriage since moving here has been that how much we depend upon each other. And not just in the way that he was talking about before, but even just functionally as a household. I really like the idea that we can't just order takeout. We have to work together for the household to function, even just in a very practical, physical sense. And so we can't escape each other. We have to work together. We have to figure things out in order for things to work. When our power goes down, it's dependent upon me to make sure that the kids are still okay, and it's dependent upon him to be calling the electrician. And so we're having to work together in a very physical sense as well. And I think that lends itself into the other aspects of our marriage.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're stuck on this island together.
Yeah.
It's there's no easy button just to be able to click and just have a backup for things, and so I think we're more reliant, upon each other, and there's something gratifying and very special that comes along with that. So I think one thing that I'll share that's been just super special is that Sonia is the only person that I can relate with because we've been on this journey together. And even though there have been some challenges, and in fact, I think this past year and a half of moving here has probably been maybe the most strenuous period of our marriage, but it's also been, I think, the most gratifying and the most bonding because we're going through this experience, and yeah, it's stressful, and it's hard, it's challenging, we're being stretched in so many ways, but at the end of the day, Sonia's the only person that gets me because she's the only person that has been able to live this life and experience this and go through the ups and downs and the challenges that we've gone through in this. And so that's just a really cool, really special something. I think for the rest of our life, if we continue to live here or we move somewhere else, there will be challenges to being able to relate to other people sometimes, and there'll be an added specialness that we get just from each other, knowing that we've been places and we've seen things and we've experienced things that very few people have, at least with the same perspective that we have. And so that's just a really special dynamic that's been added to our relationship since moving here. So overall, like, we're doing well. I think, like I said, there have been some bumps and challenges during this past year and a half, but you know, for two people like us that are eager for God's discipline and for God growing us, those bumps are welcome because we can learn from them. And we're excited for what the Lord is doing in our marriage and how He's kind of blessing us through that. Go ahead and, you know, add a comment with your thought down below. Hit the like button. It really helps with the channel if you're able to subscribe. All those things kind of indicate to YouTube that this is a quality video that's worth promoting to other people if you feel like that could be a blessing. All right, we're signing off from Sierra Leone. We'll catch you next time. Bye.